G'day guys, Bud from Survivor Southwest here. Just out in the bush around the southwest, and today I'm just going to have a quick chat with you about setting a simple trap, so trapping and snaring. Before I get into this video though, I do need to let you know that in Western Australia, trapping is illegal. Using snares and traps is illegal for game animals. So now I got that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, so today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bit of a variant on a trigger for a snare I've done in a previous video, the L7 trigger. Still going to use the same trigger itself, but the way it's going to be pegged to the ground is going to be a bit different today because the ground I'm in is very soft sand, and I just tried it before, and every time I put a bit of pressure on it, the pegs just lifted straight out. So what I'm going to do now is basically, I've got an area here which is used by small game that runs through, and I just want to set up a snare in there. So I've got this log on the ground and that one over there as well. And so what I'm going to do is, you can see I've put this branch underneath there and wedged in there, and what's going to happen is when I bring that down, that's going to lock onto that branch and hold it there until the snare is triggered. Alright, I'll bring you in a bit closer and show you the finer points of it. But before I do that, I just want to say one thing, that snares have a very low success rate. I think at best probably about 10%. So for every 10 snares you put out there, you're probably only going to catch one thing. And they're often going to be small. Do not try and go out and catch big game, because unless you have a rifle or a bow and are proficient in using them, you're just going to burn way too many calories for little result. So setting up snares everywhere is a good way to collect small animals, small mammals like rabbits and rats and stuff like that. Now, I did say at the start of this video that using traps and snares in Western Australia is illegal. That is the case, but in a pure survival situation, if you have no other alternative, I myself would prefer to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. So I'll bring you in a bit closer and we'll show you how it gets set up. Okay, so what I've done for my trigger, for my grounding point, is I've just shaved a ledge onto there. So I've shaved it down that way and I've shaved it dead flat on the bottom. And what that's going to do is allow that part of my trigger to hook into there and to lock onto it. But it will be around the other way. So what we're going to do, spin that around. So that will lock into there for this snare. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to set our trip. So what this is braided fishing line that I got out of a length of paracord, and so I used the paracord for something else, but I saved the length of braided fishing line that was in it purely for because fishing line comes in handy. Alright, so what I want to do is, that side is actually my snare, so this side I might need to make that a bit sharper. So a lot of this is going to be getting everything ready, because the hardest part is putting tension on it and everything slipping off. So you set roughly what distance you want. So what I'm doing is I know roughly how far the tree needs to bend down in order to give myself enough of a flick. And I'm just tying this off just above a fork with a round turn and 2 half hitches, because that way I can always come back and untie it if I need to, but it is a very strong knot. So now I need to set up how this is going to go. Set up, make sure I've got the right tension and everything like that. So first we see if we're going to hold. Alright, so not at the moment, which just means that I need to adjust the angle of my ledges here. Now if this was just compact sand or something a bit tougher, these pegs would hold in and a 90-degree angle would suffice, but because this ground is so soft, anytime I put pressure on a peg that I put in the ground, it just pulled straight out, even if I put it in on an angle. So I'm just putting a bit of an angle on that. I'll pull that out there. And I'll put a bit more of an angle on that. And what I really want to do is I really want to put that angle up in that high point, because that is where this is going to want to sit. So now I got quite a big knot there, so I'll just cut that out. Now having one of these is excellent for this, because the saws on these are fantastic. And they just make shaping it so much easier with the saw, because the saws are that sharp. When I come back, just with the knife, there's not much left to do. Now you might have to do this a few times, but that's okay, as long as we get the end result. Now just cutting through that knot is a bit challenging, but because they are the strong part. but I want to keep that edge flat. I don't want it to be rounded. Alright, and there we have it. So that there, it's got a nice little edge on it. Now, so that there is now under tension. Now it's not under an incredible amount of tension because it does still need to spring. Now what we need to do is set up the actual trap. And for setting the trap, all we need is a couple little twigs that are forked. Just in the ground. And what I've got here, because I'm using braided fishing line instead of brass wire, what I've got there is I've just got a bowline in the end. And what I want to do, I mean, these sticks could probably be longer. What I'll do is I'll actually grab a longer stick. And there it is. So that there is now set. So when something runs through there, pulls on that, pulls that, and this tree will spring up and that'll get caught. But what I want to do now is I want to better my chances. So I want to bring some brush, some logs, and I want to block off any other way to make sure that an animal gets through. Right there. Okay, so looking at it completely, I have my tension on my branch. If you can see it, my line down to the trigger to that loop there. Now what I've done is I've put branches and everything over there and on the other side, but to give myself even more of a chance, I've just wedged some sticks and stuff in there. So that little path through there, that little path runs right through my snare. Now let's set it off and see what happens. Okay, so there is the trap completely set up as it's being left. Now what's going to happen now is an animal's going to go through there and get hooked up and trip that. Now the idea is not to flick the animal up in the tree. The idea is just that tension to take up, to close that noose on it, and that animal's not going to be able to get out of that purely because the slack has been taken out by that tree springing up. So I'll show you what's going to happen there. So that animal's going to come through there and spring that, and that is closed up on my hand nicely. Now at ground level, that noose is just about the size of my wrist. Now if that's an animal, that animal's going to be trying to run away, but because I've only got that much rope to the noose, that it's not going to be able to get out, and the animal's going to struggle. It's not going to be able to escape it. And the fact that I have that bow line in there means that after I come and collect that animal, I can just set that trap again pretty easily. Set, ready to go to catch another rabbit or rat or something like that for a bit of food. Okay, so I got my snares out. I've moved well away from the area where my snares are, purely so the animals don't get spooked by my scent, because I should have already left enough scent there to probably keep them away for a little while. And I burnt an awful lot of calories making those snares. So I'm not actually going to catch animals today because, as I said, it's illegal, but for the purpose of this exercise, I would have 10-15 snares out. So there is one thing left to do, and that is to rest. And I will see you all next time.